We, the Bangla people, welcome you to our country. We are the lawful inhabitants of this peninsula for thousands of generations. We are part of this land on which we stand, part of the waters that flow in and around. We are part of the dreaming stories that are connected. The full awareness of oneness with the land and waters will ensure a future for the children of tomorrow. Ngaya Punaguru Bangala Mirinya, Yura Damilbu. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to our March the 16th meeting as the year moves on at rapid pace and it's raining. Serious note though, as we always do, and we are so genuine about this, it's my pleasure to always give the oath to Whyalla on behalf of our elected members. We, the Whyalla Council members, commit to serving the community of which we are a part. We'll work together diligently and collaboratively to create a prosperous future in which we all can share. Item 3, the obituary notices. I ask those who can or wish to stand and then the moment of silence afterwards. Jean Elson, Neville Pittaway, Bill Campbell, and our condolences to Councillor Camp. Christy Fentiman, Inna Anderson, Don Proctor, Etty Doyle, Kevin Allport, Robert Campbell, Ruth Smith, Viv Saint, Tony Lynch, Astrid Grun, Mick Bishop, and certainly a tragedy Saturday morning in a road accident here in Whyalla, Graham Farger. Thank you. Item 4, our attendance record 4.1. We have apologies from Councillor Inglis and Councillor Knox. We have a leave of absence from Councillor Todd. Now, just before we go on any further, I will be anticipating that we will have a short 5-minute break after item 14.1, the CEO's report, for a moment to gather supper and then continue on with the meeting. This is a risk to say this, it looks like being a shortish meeting, and the last item on the agenda, all staff will have to leave the meeting anyhow, only be for council members. So in discussion with the CEO and Michelle, we will have that small break after the CEO's reports. Item 5, council member and executive declarations. 5.1, conflicts of interest. Does anybody have a conflict of interest that I wish to declare?
I do.
Yes, councillor.
I would like to for item 14.1.5, Westmead Shopping Centre designated shopping precinct.
Yep, thank you. Any further conflicts of interest?
For now, I've got a material of interest in relation to item 20.1.1, which is the CEO's performance review, and I'll be leaving the chamber during the discussion of that item.
Thank you, CEO. Any further conflicts? Just to add to that a little, I'm going to make a declaration. You will see in the agenda a bit later reference from the Ombudsman about issues of conflicts of interest. At the moment, there is total confusion throughout local government association and councils as to what this actually means, particularly in regards to whether it's councillors or the mayor. My latest advice is that the LGA is rushing through some guidelines as to what that actually means, because my understanding now is that even if it is part of the role, that you don't necessarily think you're getting an advantage if it's been paid by ratepayers at some stage. So I would like to, in the interest of transparency, in my activities last meeting, I did report that I went to state dinner for the introduction of the new university. And I just included that on my list. I just want to add to that, to, as I said, for squeaky clean purposes, that invitation was sent to me in the name of the Premier and the Governor, which also allowed for my wife to attend with me. All accommodation was paid for by myself. There was no meal because that was covered. The only other expense I incurred on the night was the 2 cab charges to and from the venue from where I was staying, as they do not have parking facilities at Government House. Now, I might be going overboard here. I want to make sure for transparency that doesn't come back and bite me. We will be looking forward to the LGA coming out with the guidelines and assistance so that we know exactly where we all stand.
Yes, thank you. Just in addition to that, as per what's on the screen in front of you, picking up on what the Mayor said in terms of confusion associated with the Ombudsman's decision regarding elected member benefits and potential conflicts of interest. Get someone through the Mayor to move and second the recommendation that Council notes those councillors and staff who attended the recent PPLGA conference, given that was part funded through ratepayers' funds.
Thank you, Chair. Move Councillor Board, that seconded Councillor Simpson. Thank you for that. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Shall see what happens. Item 6, the minutes of previous meeting. 6.1, the confirmation of the minutes of the previous ordinary council meeting held on Monday, the 16th of February. We have the standard recommendation. We'll take it, the minutes as read. Would somebody care to move that recommendation?
Hello.
Councillor Simpson, seconded Councillor Cobica. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, CEO. I missed 5.2. Does anybody have any gifts and benefits they need to declare? Thank you. Take that as a no. Item 7, matters adjourned or laid on the table. We have none. Item 8, deputations. There are none. Item 9, petitions. There are none. Item 10, public question time. We have no questions. Item 11 is council member activities. We'll be scrolling through on the screen. Again, an opportunity. Anybody wants to add anything briefly about any of your commitments? Councillor Board.
I just wanted to highlight the Whyalla Day, which I thought was a fantastic initiative, and good to see some leadership from council administration bright and early on Sunday morning.
Yes, yes, you're right. Early. Anything where the sun is up is early for me. No, thank you. And certainly administration through ourselves will be doing a lot more promoting for the rest of the month as well. Item 12, presentations. There are none. Item 13, committee reports. 13.1, the minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting of the 1st of October. Take the minutes as read. Anybody care to move that recommendation? Who, Councillor Border, do I have a second? Councillor Campbell.
Councillor Board.
What do I say?
Councillor Board.
My apologies. My greatest apologies, Councillor Cobica. How could I do that to you? I was looking at you. Right, we've got the mover and a seconder. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 13.2, the draft minutes and summary of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting on the 20th of February 2026. We'll take them as read. Have the motion there, the recommendation. Would somebody care to move that recommendation? Councillor Cobrica, seconded Deputy Mayor Pond. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 14, reports from council officers. 14.1, the Office of the Chief Executive, ordinary reports. 14.1.1, the CEO's action report for March 26. As usual, I'll take the report as read and refer any questions or comments to the CEO before I look for a mover. Any questions or comments? Councillor Simpson.
Good question. Any feedback from one still regarding the extra graduate payment?
No,
This stage?
the feedback in the first instance through the mayor is likely coming with the state government because it's, we have been advised that the payment in lieu has been rolled into the indenture agreement that will ultimately be between the state government and the new owner of the steelworks. So we're aware that that's going to happen, but so the first notification we'll probably get is from the state government, not from Fremantle.
Did that be in your report? I thought I should ask that.
If I just may, just one quick verbal update in addition to the written report provided. Just prior to this month, the council did submit a submission to the Federal Parliamentary Committee review regarding rural and regional aviation. Just noting that we've received confirmation that that submission has been received. It's now on the public website, and that the committee is indicating that the final report is due by the 4th of June. So we'll keep an eye out for that and see whether some recommendations are forthcoming that are in line with what we saw. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Any further questions? If not, we have a recommendation that we note the CEO's action report. Somebody care to move that? Move Councillor Border, seconded Councillor Simpson. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 14.1.2, the local government council member conflicts of interest. Again, we have a recommendation that we note the correspondence received from the Ombudsman related to council member conflicts of interest. Again, if there are any questions, I'll direct them to the CEO.
I guess move it.
Oh, yeah. Move Councillor Border. Somebody care to second that? Seconded Councillor Campbell. We have a mover and a second. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Tonight is certainly on our agenda, as you'll see, a night where we have quite a few policies to ratify. 14.1.3, the Whyalla City Council social media council members. Again, in the first instance, I'll refer any questions or comments to the CEO. If there are none, somebody care to...
If I may, Mayor, just given that through the chair, this one is obviously always a bit of a sensitive item because anyone from the community can basically make just about any comments they want on social media where his policy restricts or limits how or what comments are made by elected members in social media forums. I just wanted to quickly run off the 4 golden rules. One is that a councillor should not make any comments on any of council's social media pages. Number 2, if you are commenting on your own page or on any other pages, you need to state clearly that the comments are your personal views and may not be consistent with the council. Number 3, you should never make any comments about council decisions, council laws or council employees. And number 4, if something needs to be corrected or responded to on behalf of the council, please contact either the Mayor, CEO or Manager of Marketing and Communications, being Sean Kelly. Just adding to that, because there's always a bit of sensitivity around this, either Sean or myself can always be approached if councillors want to get just some confirmation or a guide as to whether any prospective post may be confidential. So please feel free always to ask a question if you've got need any clarification. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. If there is no further discussion, councillor Borden.
I'm happy to move it, but I did want to make just one observation, really, that the intent of this isn't necessarily to restrict, but it's to maintain one clean, clear direction from council, so that when the community have a question, that there's no ambiguity of multiple sources, it's just that one straight line.
Correct, thank you. All right, so move councillor Border. Do I have a seconder, please? Seconder, councillor Simpson. We have a mover and a seconder. We have the recommendation that we endorse the updated social media policy for council members. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Sorry, can I see all the hands, please? Right, some of right. In that case, the motion is carried. Thank you for that. Item 14.1.4. Consideration of memberships of the Murray-Darling Association. You have a report fairly clearly explained, plus a recommendation. If we have any questions or comments, I can refer to the CEO. In that case, would somebody care to move the recommendation? Move councillor Campbell. Do I have a second? Councillor Border. Thank you. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 14.1.5, the Westland Shopping Precinct declared a designated shopping precinct, a report and a recommendation.
Mayor, I'm to read and bring.
Right, councillor. Any questions or comments? I can refer to the CEO. Deputy Mayor Pond.
No questions or comments, just having to read.
Oh, thank you, Deputy Mayor Pond. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second.
Seconded, councillor Simpson. In that case, we have a mover and a seconder. We note that the Westland Shopping Precinct has been declared a designated shopping precinct under the Summary Offences Act 1953. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you.
Just a technicality, and with councillor Campbell out of the podium. Don't still have the yeah, sorry, I'll take that back. Actually, that one, we've still got four on there.
The other one that's supposed to miss. Thank you. Thank you.
Just kind of that making some got five, so.
Item 14.1.6, the response to the 2025 annual community survey, which was the late item on the agenda. Yes, in the first instance, we'll take it as read or refer any questions or comments to the CEO. No questions or comments?
Sorry, I didn't have one point. Just there was a graph in there, and I can't remember what page number it was on. But it was when there were scores out of 5. And I looked like the graph when it went to 4.5. So I just felt like it skewed them a little favourably. But I just thought, for the sake of full transparency, just to have it to go to a 5.
In that case, if there's no further discussion, will somebody care to move the recommendation? Move councillor Border. Do I have a seconder, please? Seconded, councillor Koplica. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. At that note, does somebody care to move? We take a 5-minute break, resuming at 10 minutes past 6. Move councillor Koplica.
Yep.
Seconded, councillor Border. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. So if you grab some supper, and we will continue on to the meeting. Item 14.2, corporate services ordinary reports, 14.2.1. The monthly budget report for February 2026. Any questions or comments? I will refer in the first instance to the CEO, who no doubt also referred. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes, councillor Simpson.
I would comment that the summary that they decided to put on these reports makes it very easy to get it to understand. It shows that that monthly competition. My other comment would be, what's our plans about addressing the ever increasing the security screening costs, maintenance costs at the airport? You know, this year it's $350,000. They're having to pay for maintenance. The contract. It won't be long before for that. I mean, what are we doing to approach that issue?
Manager of finance and businesses.
Yep, through the mayor. So the cost of the security screening itself.
No, the maintenance, I think it's maintenance.
Well, that's basically a cost we cannot avoid, and there's basically one provider who doesn't.
Well, people did say that. What are we doing to address that? Anything or nothing?
No, that's the cost of maintaining that equipment and having that in place. It is, I will say, it is fully passed on to Qantas. But there is nothing that we can do to reduce that cost. That's the nature of having that equipment. It's not free. I think it's 120,000.
Yeah. But it keeps going up.
Well, it's what it is we didn't have to pay that cost for the first 5 years because it was basically
Like a warranty.
warranty rolled into the basically the purchase cost of the equipment. We knew that once that ended, we would have to pay that. We did estimate that 5 years ago that would be around 95,000 a year, so it is a bit higher than
We're not paying that cost every two airport travellers.
that's right. We pay it, and then it gets passed on through the screening levy, the same as the actual cost of the screening, the labour itself.
Thanks very much. Much better news.
Anything else, councillor?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, councillor Campbell.
Has council got any sort of operating or action plan for the rising cost of petrol for the use of council? What my calculations, petrol cost of the council rising by 35.4%. Has anything been discussed or will anything be in place in terms of?
Through the then, we've got an executive leadership team meeting tomorrow. We've got that slated for discussion at the executive. So we don't have any plans at present, but we are starting to outline as to what the implications are both for council's operations, but also what operations that affect our city, including waste collection, transport costs, etc. So it's a work in progress.
Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Any other questions? If not, we have a recommendation that council notes the monthly budget report for February 2026. If there is no further business, are you moving, councillor Simpson?
Right.
Thank you. Seconded, councillor Border. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 14.2.2, the order making policy goes to public consultation. We'll take the report as read. We have a recommendation. Does anybody have any questions first? If not, we'll take, would somebody care to move the recommendation that we note the monthly budget, let's change that. Oh, I put that. I'm using that one.
So
Don't refresh.
Ah,
That's not showing.
yes, because we had finished that other one. So the order making policy, the public consultation, would somebody care to move that recommendation? Move councillor Simpson, seconded Deputy Mayor Pond. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 14.2.3.
Yeah.
The review of finance policies, it's a three-part recommendation there. In the first instance, does anybody have any questions? If not, would somebody care to move the recommendation for the review of finance policies? Move councillor Border, seconded councillor Campbell. Put the motion, those in favour? Against, carried. Thank you. Item 14.2.4, the quarterly report procurement from the 1st of September to the 31st of December with a recommendation. Again, I'll take the report as read. Does anybody have any questions in the first instance? Yes, Deputy Mayor Pond.
Comment and then a question. First of all, great to see that so many of our locals are getting contracts and the money is staying in the town. That's fantastic to see. Within the auditor's report, there was a recommendation that we review our procurement policy. Just wondering, do they have any recommendations on changes that we should make?
Through there, I'll defer to the finance manager and the persons.
Yeah, so I think that's the audit committee. So all they said is, as you work through, it's about finding that balance about how many exemptions, I guess, you have each time. Like, I think when we've had conversations, we think we've got the balance about right, that we've got a very transparent process. The policy itself is quite robust, works for the majority of cases, but they were quite transparent when we've used a different process. So I guess that what the audit committee are looking for is they don't want, they're saying if you end up with too many exemptions on your list each quarter of the where you haven't followed your procurement policy and you've got an exemption report, if you end up with too many of them, it may mean that your policy is too tight and may need loosening a little bit. So that's all they sometimes just bring up, you know, what is the right amount of exemptions? When we've discussed it in the meetings, I think we've always said that we think that we're at the right level. You know, we don't have, it's not excessive, it's not pages. It's like normally, you know, you might have 5 to 8 each quarter. When you think about how many things we procure and stuff, I think it's actually about right. So, but always good to keep in mind. We are due in around this time next year with the new council to review our procurement policy. So have a look at it then. But I think the balance is actually about right. That's what we sort of communicated to us.
Just answered my second question. I was going to say is that we're about on track to what we usually have, but maybe a couple more, but not.
Yeah, and sometimes we get certain items that cause what, like we know when we were doing the airport 12 months ago, there were a bunch that came together that were all related to the nature of that project and how we were pushing that forward. So sometimes you do get, and so some of the ones we did a few through Civic Park and the way we were procuring that locally, and those sorts of things. So you do get them up sometimes, but yeah, I think it's about right.
Thank you. And like I said, very good to see that a lot of the contracts are awarded locally and that money is staying in the town. I'm happy to.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Pond. Would somebody care to second? Councillor Border? Oh, sorry.
Well, no, that's all right. Just on what you were saying then, Grant. So when there are when there is exemption, just for internal discussion, that will bring about additional scrutiny, then bring about explanations to be even further enhancing the transparency because you've got to run the microscope, and then that's going to be clear to the report. So is it such a bad thing that there are exemptions?
Yeah, through the chair, that's what we've always argued, that we think because of the nature of our processes that they're all reported if we don't follow the process, you know, that we haven't used the actual process and we've got an exemption, that we report all of them. So I agree, you don't want too many because then it becomes too much to trawl through. Like, you know, you don't want to have 50, you know, every day. So it's about finding a balance. But I think, I agree, I think the amount we've got is a manageable amount that then provides good information to members of the community about how we're getting value for money.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor. So were you seconding it? All right, so we're going to move in a second. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 14.2.5, the internal review of council decisions, policy and procedure. Another one to adopt with a recommendation. Any questions or comments first? Otherwise, would somebody care to move the recommendation, please? Move councillor Simpson, seconded councillor Border. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 14.2.6, council member nomination to the Audit and Risk Committee. Well, you have a detailed report there with a recommendation. Take the report as read. Anybody has any questions or comments initially, refer those to the CEO before I proceed. No questions or comments. Does anybody, considering the circumstances, have an interest in being appointed as a council proxy representative to the Audit and Risk Committee until the next local government election? Councillor Simpson.
I'm in a position where I can accept what I can nominate because I have the time to do it. Whereas most of the guys haven't because of employment problems. So therefore I'm happy to hand that if required.
Thank you, council. Do we have any further nominations? So we do have 2 proxy positions available, because we've got 1 for councillor Border.
Very reluctantly. But given what Bill just said, thank you, Bill. But if I could be a very distant second proxy, that'd be great.
In other words, if we can make him first proxy and you second proxy,
That'd be fantastic.
we'll note that.
Yes.
Thank you, councillor. Well, we have 2 nominations. Are there any further nominations? In that case, would somebody care to move councillor Simpson and councillor Border for proxy reps? Move councillor Coppica, seconded councillor Campbell. Put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 14.3, City Growth Ordinary Reports. There are none on this occasion. 14.4, City Infrastructure Ordinary Reports. 14.4.1, the Private Works Policy. Again, we'll take the report as read. If anybody has any questions or comments, Deputy Mayor Pong.
No question or comments, just happy to move.
Moved, seconded.
No, I got a question.
Oh, you've got a question?
The detail wasn't bad. I just worry about the fact that we have huge problems at the moment, trees on verges. We have a system where a problem where most of the trees are on verges, we planted, not we, but council planted years ago. In this proposal, we look at charging some of these people want the trees removed. Can you explain in more detail what you're talking about there in that report?
Through the chair, this report is really just to get some transparency and clarity around times when the community members want council to do a particular task instead of a contractor. I don't expect it to happen very often, and that's why when you look at the principles under item 4, it's all about we would only do this work, whatever that might be. Councillor Simpson, if it's a tree or if it's a bit of road grading or whatever it might be that's required, if it's not going to interfere at all with our normal duties, that's the number 1 principle, and it's full cost recovery. Covers every single part of the process, overheads included. So this is just to make sure that everyone's clear. We're not in competition with contractors. If for some reason there's no one to do the role and it's really important and someone wants to pay money, then we've got a process that's really transparent and quite clear and straightforward that they can do that and all our costs are covered. So I guess that's the reasoning behind this.
If I can add to it, and to the response from the general manager, if it's council business, so if it's a council tree and it needs to be removed, it will be removed by council, not at the expense of the ratepayer, which I think is where your question was going.
Correct.
So this is only when works are being requested by a citizen.
And it has no tree problems, no root problems, no footpath problems, they just don't want it there.
If they don't want the tree,
We'll charge, we will,
that's correct.
which is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, initially, the motion's been moved by Deputy Mayor Pond. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Border. Thank you. Put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 14.4.2, asset management policy. Two-part recommendation there. Again, I'll take the report as read. Is there any questions or comments initially? Councillor Simpson?
We briefly spoke about this, briefly. My thoughts are it's an excellent proposal. You should be congratulated on putting it forward. I'm just concerned about cost to council. In the present, in today's financial environment, I'm concerned what's going to cost us. I'd like to know those details before we say yes to whatever.
I can do an initial response and then I'll answer general manager. The asset management policy is all about, one of its key objectives is to actually minimise the whole of life cost of maintaining assets that we've got and keeping them up to a service level that council sets. In terms of escalating costs that are beyond matters within our control, such as fuel costs, for example, the fact that those costs go up would not necessarily mean that you would change your asset management policy, because the asset management policy is all about maintaining the condition of the asset to meet its service level over its useful life. So we would not, I suppose indirectly we confirm what the cost of implementing the asset management plan is through our asset management plans and through the long-term financial plan. So you will see those figures already in your finances over a 10-year period. Obviously, with some of the prevailing economic conditions, we might need to think about some of the assumptions that we apply in terms of future CPI increases and things of that nature. But we already account for the renewal of our assets in line with what its policy is saying, or sorry, what our existing policy has, and then we would develop the asset management plans that underpin that. So,
yeah, I understand that. We had this discussion really last week. But we didn't come up with how much it's going to cost it now. We're going to use outside people to give us a cost to give us an idea of what we're doing. So if I worry about that cost.
Yeah, if I can ask, I mean, this is adopting a policy position, which is something we've been missing. Many of the aspects within here we've already been doing to some degree, more or less, but we haven't actually outlined our policy position. So this is a high-level policy position about how we go about managing our assets, which we've already been doing. And so this is about saying, this is how we go about managing our assets in a coherent and organised manner. So over the next year or two, the way we operate and how we do things won't change significantly, and that it's about setting ourselves up for the future after that. So getting better information over time, putting more of a framework in place and more underpinning information. We do have budgets around how we condition rate and value our assets. So I think the bit you're talking about will be part of a future budget cycle. It'll be if we come back and we look at that and we say, oh, actually, we're budgeting this much. We probably should budget this much if we want to do everything we want to be doing. And then that's a conversation to have with council. I don't think adopting this policy is committing council to anything it's not doing already.
I accept that.
just checking.
Through the chair, the only other thing I'd add is what Grant said is exactly right. Down the track, we'll be getting into that really robust, detailed discussion about costs. And that's where we also have those really interesting conversations around service levels and rationalisation in that sense as well. So that becomes part of us as well. And see what the costs might be, comes with that data, becomes strong discussion points to say, well, maybe we need to tweak and change a few things, and that'll happen down the track.
I think I just want that point clarified before I go to this.
Yes, Councillor Board.
I just wanted to confirm, as I understand it, and it is a good point to clarify, is the current state of legacy issues, has that been a result of the insufficient asset management framework? And does this look to rectify that?
Inefficient.
Yeah.
I'll kick off and then I'll make the grant to general manager for yes to as Grant said, our primary asset classes, we've already got good data, and we've been managing our assets, I think, reasonably well for a period of time in the absence of the policy. As was mentioned, the policy actually solidifies some of the work that we've already been doing. I think the one exception is buildings, and probably open spaces and some of the structures that sit in them, which is one of the things that Councillor Knox has raised on a number of occasions about things like sound shelters in the middle of Civic Park, for example, or possibly the structures on top of Clement Hill. Some of those fixed structures that have been there for a long time, I think they're the ones that over many decades have probably not being managed as well as they could do, particularly in terms of the preventative maintenance and program maintenance in advance. That would then reduce the deterioration of that asset over time to the point that we've got now. So, so I'm not going to say we've been doing it great, and the external auditors and internal auditors have identified that this policy is needed as part of our framework for how we manage assets, because that is the core business of local government, given the volume and the value of the assets that we look after. But as has been said, adopting this policy isn't going to change overnight your financial commitment that you need to make to policies. I think in time, we'll probably need some more discussion around pushing more money towards programs of preventative maintenance, particularly for those building structures. Not so much for roads and paths and the like. And irrigation systems is another one that's probably needs to do with stormwater as well. So, yeah.
Deputy Mayor.
I see this as a very positive step in the right direction for us to formalise the assets that we have. But it's also going to give us the information in the future for us to make future councils to make decisions on where that money is allocated and I'm able to pass it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Have a mover. Will somebody care to second? Councillor Border. A mover and a second. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 15, information decision reports. 15.1, council members. 15.1.1. The Mayor's list of engagements. I will endeavour to answer any questions if anybody has any. Otherwise, I'll take the report as read. There are no questions. Would somebody care to move item 15.1.1? Move Councillor Border. Do I have a seconder? Sorry, Councillor Campbell. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 15.2, corporate services infrastructure. 15.2.1, the monthly information report, March 2026. We have a recommendation, 4-part recommendation there. Another very exhaustive report of things that have been and will be. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I can refer to the CEO, Councillor Simpson.
Sorry, the fact, again, you've already said it's a technical report. I was surprised with the number of people visiting the front office. You know, it's the amount of people going to that front office is great. You know, there's a lot more I thought would be. Hands off, heads off those staff and all those kids.
Any further questions or comments? In that case, somebody care to move the recommendation? Move Councillor Border. Do I have a second to Councillor Simpson?
Can I just make, sorry, just one.
Yes, that's all right.
Sorry. I just wanted to make mention about the EPLGA conference that it obviously says in the report, but yeah, that was a really well done event. And I think we see it through the lenses of people that live here. But for those that came out of town, the number of people that I spoke to were blown away that, you know, the Maritime Museum Gardens was fantastic. The ship is there. Just so many comments that just reinforce what we already live and breathe.
Yeah.
But, yeah, absolute credit to the team that created the event. It's fantastic.
Thank you for that. Certainly support what you say. We have a motion moved and seconded. Yes, I'll put that motion then. Those in favour? Against, carried. Thank you. Item 16, notices of motion nil. Questions on notice nil. Item 17. Now, item 18, questions without notice. Now, before I see if we have any questions without notice, do need to draw to your attention that I possibly have not been handling this item within the code of practice or advice, that questions at this stage should be fairly significant questions, whereby I then ask you, do you want that recorded and actioned? What the CEO has introduced at the briefings with Q&As is anything and everything that might be minor. So from now on, when I do call for questions on notice, if you have a question on notice, I will ask you, do you want it recorded? Then we'll take it from there. So under those rules now, does anybody have a question on questions without notice, I mean, sorry. Questions without notice. All right, so be prepared in the future then. If you have a question without notice, you have the decision to make whether it's recorded and it goes in the minutes as well. But if we have no questions without notice tonight, thank you. Item 19, motions without notice. Does anybody have a motion without notice? Thank you. And that brings us to item 20, consideration of confidential items. At which stage I will also be asking all staff to leave. So would somebody care to move while we do that we go into confidential?